there, my fellow writing addicts. It's Marissa, and today we're gonna do part 2 of Mary Sue / Gary Stews. And I hope you guys haven't been waiting too long for this, since I always hate it when people prolong it for a month. But we're back, we're here, and it's time to learn how to fix a Mary Sue or Gary Stew if you have one or if your character is close to one. So the first one is, instead of looking at your story, let's look right at your character. Are they well-rounded? Do they have flaws? Do they have desires and goals? And do they have stuff that impedes them? Because essentially a well-rounded character that has, a growth that from point A to point B where you want the character to go, will have a growth. And you can always make sure that they fail along the way so that way they can overcome whatever flaw they need to overcome to get to where they need to be. And the best way I found to do this is to fill out a character sheet. And it can be as detailed as you want, or, whatever have you. I try to make mine not as detailed because I get bogged down. I have name, nickname, birthday, weight, height, basic description stuff so I know what they look like. Maybe some very specific characteristics like tattoos, piercings, body modifications, depending on what it might be. I have a character with a nicked ear, and I gotta remember that she has that, and I don't half the time. But at the bottom, I always try to add their strengths, their weaknesses, certain flaws I want to make sure that I keep going. And that way, with this nice kind of sheet, you can kind of break down the character and make sure that okay, these are their flaws, these are their strengths. Base at the end, maybe I'm gonna play around with these 2 flaws to really make sure that they grow as a person. So my next bit of advice may sound a little bit weird, and that is you can always make a Mary Sue and then cut him or her out later. And basically what I'm saying is that when you are writing your first draft, don't worry about if you're writing a Mary Sue or Gary Stew. Just write. That's the main worry you have right now. Put words on paper. I like to think of it as you're telling yourself the story, or the characters are telling you kind of what they want to happen. I have a lot of characters that don't even turn out the way I designed them. So don't worry about finding that, after a rough draft, you have a Mary Sue or Gary Stew. You can always write them out. Writing is rewriting. You can always fix it as long as you acknowledge that this is a problem. Hell, even for me, my character that I talk about a lot on here for the book Haley and I are co-writing, her name's Phasma. Early Phasma was, in fact, a Mary Sue. She was, in fact, at first 2-dimensional, and then later on, she was just, she was overpowered to the point where I could, it was a problem, not a Mary Sue problem, just a problem. Brought that back, and then she was more of Mary Sue. We had to bring that back even further. Don't be afraid of admitting that a character is a problem, and if you don't want to let them go, fix them. That's all you have to do. The next thing you can do is always, give your story out to other people, beta readers, a friend, depending on where you're at, maybe a writing group if you have one. That way they can read it and say, maybe your character is a Gary Stew or Mary Sue. And the best advice I can give you on that one is listen to them. Again, you don't have to automatically change it. It doesn't make them right. But it does mean that you should reflect on the character, which goes into the next tip perfectly, where you read through and you can mark all their flaws every time they're wrong. And I mean really wrong. Mark every time that it's just the signs of a Mary Sue, essentially. I don't want to keep repeating myself, sorry, I'm lazy. But just go through. I've done it multiple times, and it's just a good way to make sure that your character is a lot stronger than what a Mary Sue or Gary Stew would present. So my next tip is a little more specific for characters who have special powers or something very special about them. You have to make sure that whatever is special about them doesn't break the rules of the world that you've established. And to make sure you do this, please make sure that the rules are pretty much defined, not in super detail, but enough. We would know if Harry Potter started magically levitating without using a spell, we'd call bullshit, We know what kind of to expect in the Harry Potter world. That's kind of what you need. So just be sure to even have other characters that might have equal or even better powers, in power ability. That way they don't seem like the chosen special snowflake fucker from the earth. I don't know. Or heavens, I guess. Wherever the fuck they are. But that's how it sounds like to me. It doesn't matter if it's special or chosen. It's just, they're special, yay. So my last tip is that you should give the illusion of choice. And that is, or I guess, the illusion that the main character might fail or die. Because, we all know they're going to win at the end. Most protagonists, or especially young adult protagonist groups, are going to make it to the end basically unscathed. They're going to be fine. But the best books always make us feel that for a moment they're gonna lose, or that they're gonna die or be hurt, or in any capacity that somehow they're going to fail. And that's what we like, that's what an audience really wants. They want to feel that like they're not going to make it. You know, we all remember that moment with Katniss Everdeen and Peeta in the first book, and they're thinking, oh my god, one of them's gonna die. For that split moment, we didn't think, oh, nah, it's fine that the protagonists, they'll get out. No, we generally were afraid, and that's the moment you need to create. And basically, at the end of the day, I want to live one thing for you guys to remember is that not everyone is going to like your character. I am sure someone is going to throw a Mary Sue label at your character just to insult them. Just, again, ignore that person. But even if we don't even like the character, a lot of people will want to understand that character. And I always find understanding a character is way more important than liking a character. Now let's talk about when it's okay to actually have a Mary Sue or Gary Stu in whatever work we're working with. And the first example I have is superheroes. Now, back when they originally started, a lot of superheroes, because let's be real, it's mostly the guys, were Gary Stus. They were just a role model. They were a pillar of society meant to guide children to doing the right thing. It wasn't until a lot later, in more modern times, or at least are modern, that we actually started to say, hey, maybe they should have flaws to fight with. What we wanted changed, and so the character changed with it. But still, even today, a lot of superheroes are either Gary Stus or very close to it. But with superheroes, it's just okay. That's what we want from them. And another good example is actually children's books. Mainly because while superheroes are larger than life, children's books have to be really small and contained. You know, you can only have a children's attention span for so long. You can't bog them down with details. I don't know how children writers do it, but it's okay if the main character is a Mary Sue or Gary Stu, because again, they're just a role model to say, hey, be kind, pick up the trash, don't lie to your parents, be good in school. It's just a lesson that they're going to teach. The next exception is going to be action characters, basically like the James Bonds or basically anyone in a Fast and Furious film, because they naturally break the rules of physics, logic, science. I literally saw a film where it's like, we have 30 hours and it went on for 3 days. What? But anyway, they just naturally break all these rules. So naturally, they're going to break the rules of character anyways. You go in there knowing that you're not going to get a very flushed out character. It's just a fun ride. The last exception is, of course, for fan fiction, because fan fiction is just fun. It's meant to be fun. You come in and you write your smut or your fluff or your angst or whatever you want with your ship or your characters, whatever. It's meant to be fun. And so, yeah, sometimes you end up coming across some Mary Sue, and sometimes it's fun to live through that wish fulfillment. Nothing wrong with it. Again, it's not commercialized. No one's making money off this thing, so who cares? It's just good old fun. And please remember that at the end of the day, I truly think that a Mary Stu or Gary Stu can also be a well-rounded character if they're well-written. I still think Superman's a Gary Stu. I still think he's well-written. He's fun to watch. I'd still watch him. If DC put out a really good Superman movie, sorry to throw shade, I don't like the ones that are currently out, then I'd go watch it. I'm not like a Marvel diehard at heart. I actually do enjoy the DC, comics. I just can't get in them. I don't know the canon. It drives me nuts. But I totally would. I enjoy watching these larger than life characters, even though they don't have the normal flaws of everyday people. And that's why I like to watch it. It's just fun. So just be careful with whatever you do and make sure that you go for your targeted audience. Okay. And before I go, I want to say a quick thing. Please, please, please do not live in fear of writing or creating a Mary Sue or Gary Stu. Don't let this fear consume you. I know that a lot of doubts consume a lot of writers. I know it's why they stop. Don't let this particular doubt stop you from maybe experimenting with a character, trying to have something new with literature. We never expand if we don't try anything new. Just remember to hit the basics, have a well-rounded character, flaws, make sure they're wrong, make sure that, they learn something and grow. That way, if someone does label them as a Mary Sue or Gary Stu, you can hold your head up high and say, no, they're not. And I know that's something I'm always afraid of too, that someone's gonna label especially my female characters, because I'm not even gonna lie, I haven't said it, but they're primarily targeted, especially if they're like a really kind of strong protagonist, they get labeled as a Mary Sue. And please just don't live in fear of that. The work will outlive those labels. Just keep writing, keep telling the stories you want to, and know that your story's gonna last longer than anything they say, okay? So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sorry that it was a two-parter. I know my videos don't usually do this, but I'm so glad that you guys stuck around. Down in the comments below, please tell me, what is your favorite Mary Sue or Gary Stu? Mine is actually is America Singer from, oh god, it's the Selection series. She's a Mary Sue, but I love her to death. I think she's hilarious. And, so I want to hear yours. Put them down there. And, please hit me up. I'm on Twitter at writing_addicts, and I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/writingaddicts. And please hit the subscription button, that like button, and the notification bell for whenever we upload. And I will see you next time. Bye!